the questionnaire is probably what we're most familiar with. We've taken them in college classes. And then the interview method, which would be with an employee and management. So, observation. This is actually the most reliable method. With direct observation, you can record what the worker does, how or she does it, the work environment, tools and equipment used, the complexity of the job, and how much time is needed to complete tasks. So the advantages and disadvantages, you're going to receive first-hand information. It's simple to use, no extra tools required. It's going to verify data from other resources. What's bad about it, its subjects may alter their work behavior because they're being watched. Not useful for jobs that have high concentration. So tips for observing: when you are observing a subject, you do not want to record their thought processes, attitudes of the job, or any of their mannerisms. It is important when observing an employee not to let personal opinions about the employee or the job get in the way of observing. Okay. So we're probably mostly familiar with questionnaires. It usually ends up looking like this picture. The questionnaires do not ask about your job performance. The main focus is only what your job requires to do. So it's not a performance appraisal, it's just about the job. Okay. So types of questionnaires: closed-ended questionnaire. You're going to get predetermined categories. It's going to be checklist ratings, yes or no answers. Doesn't really go into great detail or into in-depth. And then the open-ended will be the complex areas and give you more information from it. So pros and cons: lower cost than other methods. It's efficient. You can get a greater sample size, and then it's anonymous, so you don't have to. People will answer more truthfully when it's anonymous questions. It is difficult to develop, though, and it is time-consuming. Okay, so interview. We've probably all been on an interview for either a job or for school. It is the most common used method. The interview can be done on a one-on-one setting or in a group setting. The interview method is a conversation with a purpose. So now I'm going to explain why we use the interview method to collect data. So types of interviews: there's a structured interview. It's a predetermined format. You're going to get similar questions for each employee, and then you can compare and contrast everything. The unstructured interview, it's going to be pretty much a conversation, a free-flowing format. It's more casual, unrehearsed, and you'll get greater clarification and a better understanding. Advantages: the incumbent can describe the tasks and duties that are not observable. And then the disadvantages: it is time-consuming, costly, and they might exaggerate their tasks to make themselves sound better. Okay, so the areas you want to focus on for when you are collecting the data: the input, so where and how the worker gets their information; task and duties, reasoning and effort to the worker's use; work output, like the physical activities you need, the tools and equipment needed; and then internal, external relationships, and then the KSAs. So, new and you. So I was hired as a lead server and a trainer at Rodizio Grill. It's in Voorhees, the Voorhees Town Center. So we had to do a lot of thorough research and development. We had to actually use those three methods of observation. We had to interview and do questionnaires. And I worked with the management team. So this is my management team. And then if you haven't been there, it's pretty much a restaurant where they serve you tableside, the food. So as a server, you're not really taking entree orders because everything is included. So we had to figure out what we really want our servers to do and to designate their duties and tasks. And then how we did that, we did observations of employees from the other restaurant chains, and then we collected information to what duties we want to expand on, and then we constructed a training manual and server guidelines with tasks from our feedback and our observation. So tips: use multiple methods of data collection. Don't just use one method. Get as much information as possible. Consider your time, cost, and accuracy. Set reasonable expectations for yourself and for the employees, and then always verify with management or supervisor. And then, so to get to the point, get as much information from incumbents, management, and online databases. The methods that we use: observation, questionnaire, interview, areas of focus that you want to get, duties, tasks, tools, equipment, work environment, and then the purpose is to obtain and collect data to figure out the responsibilities. Okay, next I'll be introducing Dylan.
Lisa, do you have Guaraná or do you do real?
Huh?
Guaraná?
Guaraná? Yeah, we did a Guaraná, the Brazilian soda.
All right, hello everyone. My name's Dylan, and in a second I'll be talking about performance appraisals. So just to start, I want to apologize because I have a bit of a cold, so if I start coughing, just bear with me. Thank you. All right, so for performance appraisals, they're also referred to as performance reviews or performance evaluations, also known as client development decisions, or even employee appraisals. So the definition for performance appraisal is the evaluation of the performance of employees and to understand abilities of a person for further growth and development. So a bunch of time people ask the question, why do we do performance appraisals? Some of the questions asked when it comes to performance appraisals is, why should an organization waste their time and money on executing evaluations? What do these organizations gain from these performance evaluations, and why are performance evaluations necessary? So the reasons behind why this is necessary: doing performance reviews will help better understand employees' abilities and capabilities. They will help recognize achievements that any employee has had, and it will help evaluate the employee's job progress, and also they design training for further development and change for the employee that may need it after the job evaluation. So performance-based goals, they start with the job description. Then there's realistic. Some might be realistic for one employee, but not the other. There's measurable, so you can measure each employee's progress. Observable, and challenging. You want to challenge your employees to get them out of their comfort zone. And how do you measure performance? There are a couple systems that can measure performances. The first one is numerical. So an example would be on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being they didn't do so great, 10 they were excellent. Terms, management of objectives, did they complete all the tasks they were given? Behavior oriented, are they showing improvement? How is their attitude? And the types of formats when conducting evaluations, there's 3 types. The first is narrative, which is a short essay. So you evaluate the employee based on their strengths and weaknesses, rank them from the highest to lowest. And then the feedback, gathering information from other parties, maybe such as their boss or team members. Feedback, it's a great way for a supervisor to communicate an employee's strengths and weaknesses directly with the evaluated employee. The purpose of feedback is for you to get a better understanding or interpretation of the situation or circumstances, your expectation of each employee, and your appreciation, if necessary. So employee feedback, employees can add their comments or overall reaction to the evaluation via email. It's always good to hear their thoughts after criticizing their performance of the evaluation term. And when dealing with the particular type of feedback, a deadline should be issued. So preparing for feedback, you should keep weekly logs of individuals' performance to see how they're doing. It helps reduce changes of rating errors. It also helps with making the evaluation easier. It supports the ratings giving in appraisal so they know where they're coming from, and you should always allow sufficient time when writing each evaluation. Compensation. When all the information gathered through a job analysis, employees can give in compensation for the excellence, such as benefits, higher salary rates, allowances, but poor performance can result in transfer, demotion, or even termination. Motivation is defined as the reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. So successful organizations utilize many different types of motivation in their workplace so that each employee productivity can rise. Also, performance appraisals can serve as a motivational tool for employees. How? Well, employees will receive acknowledgement for their hard work, so they'll get an achievement, maybe a monthly meeting, their boss will bring it up. They will receive a promotion or compensation, such as a raise or a bonus. And then there's some flaws with performance appraisals. So they can give an employee immense amount of stress. They can be confusing for employees. Feelings can interfere and cause evaluator to become lenient towards employees or too hard on them, and you could butter up the boss, try to be nice to him to get a better performance evaluation. So the conclusion, performance appraisals are crucial within an organization. Concise job descriptions and specifications allow supervisor to know exactly what to expect from each and every employee and how much productivity they should be producing. So for me, I used to work at a place called Worth Group USA, which is a German wholesaler, and they used to do yearly performance appraisals. They did ratings on a numerical scale, and the highest ratings would be compensated at the end of each year. Also, they had bonuses for employees that were doing well. They had promotions, motivation for employees, and incentives for hard work, whether it be they take them out to lunch one day for doing a great job, or take them out for their birthday. And then for me, because I was an intern there when I worked, I would have weekly meetings with my CEO. He would ask me how I was doing, if I was keeping up with my work. Also, I'd have monthly meetings with my CEO to see if my tasks were getting done on time. And I had monthly meetings with also everybody in the office. And then I'd have daily meetings with my supervisor to let him know how I was doing and if I needed help with anything. So to recap, I went over why do performance appraisals, goals for employees, measuring performance, feedback, employee feedback, compensation, and motivation. So next, Ryan will be talking to you about the selection process and how job analysis plays a huge part on what organization is looking for.
All right, like Dylan said, I'm going to be getting into the selection process and why kind of job analysis is vital within the selection process. So there's selection, and we're going to talk about that from the beginning part of selection to just, kind of putting out a job posting and getting some feedback and some applications, all the way up to the very last step of the final interview and getting everything done in order to actually bring an employee on board. So selection is, by definition, it's a process that is used when recruiting, evaluating, and choosing employees. So like I said, that's everything from putting a job posting out on Monster and getting applications from potential candidates, to bringing them in, interviewing, and then ultimately choosing them, final interviews, whether it's panel or however, and deciding whether or not you want to bring them on board. Why do we use it? We use it to identify candidates, to identify quality candidates, no matter what source you're coming from, to identify whether they fit the culture of the company, whether they fit the job description, minimum qualifications, and you evaluate their qualifications, maybe their experience, and the kind of things that they've done, and see if that would be a good fit for you. In addition, so if you do this well and you select quality employees, it's going to lead to high performance from these employees, which will lead to profitability and better things coming from your company. You can perform better. And then also employee retention. So if you take the time to make sure you have employees that are a culture fit and do the right thing, they're going to stay on board longer, and then their employees are going to stay on board, and it's just kind of a recurring cycle. So the role of job analysis in selection, it helps to identify job duties, such as the daily tasks that these employees are going to be doing if they were to come on board, the salary and the compensation that they're going to have, and the qualifications, whether that's high school diploma, college degree, master's, doctorate, etc. So job analysis and selection, it helps develop interview questions. So based on your position and the role and the duties of your position, you're going to have different questions that you're going to have to ask different candidates. And then also aptitude tests. So if it's a high-paced environment, you might want to do a personality test and see how they handle stress and things like that, and how they'd be able to hold in that situation. So the selection process itself is a 6-step process. It's very detailed and lengthy, and it is vital to the success of any organization. If you have good selection process and you bring on good candidates, they're going to stay with the company for longer, they're going to want to work there, and they're going to do a good job in their position. So this process has 6 separate steps. The first step is a position announcement. This is when the job is posted, whether that be online, on Monster, LinkedIn, Prof Jobs, in a newspaper posting, an ad, or if it's just a sign in the window saying, hey, now hiring. And this is the initial step in finding candidates. This is the initial step to bring them in and kind of start sourcing them. The next step is accepting applications. So this is where you gather your applications, whether they're online, submitted through various websites, people email